Hi, well, I'm going to talk about crypto today. Crypto, right? Everybody loves to talk about crypto. And I'm going to have to go through some other stuff and circle back if you don't mind. Let me just start with, as Avi Nachmani has mentioned, I wrote this history of mutual funds, and then Jason Zweig helped me with it. So anyway, when we were working on this, I spent many hours at the New York Public Research Library on Fifth Avenue and 42nd Street, and I would go in there in the reading room, and I'd read all these books from the time period, especially about the Depression or the stock market crash, and why that led to the 1933 Act, the 1934 Act, and the 1940 Act, and of course I've read the 1940 Act and parts of the others. And what's fascinating to me, well, today, if you go to the New York Research Library, I don't believe you can just walk in and sit down. I mean, you need to get a pass. I mean, it's completely different. So that's just one area where society is different, where things have really broken down, in my opinion. Then in the second thing is that Google search is useless, right? I mean, the actual service of Google, there's ads in the email. The search doesn't work. It's just advertisements through and through. So yeah, I mean, it's not productive. So I want to key on this word of what is productive. And if you look at the history of America, really, actually the world, steam power really started to take hold in the late 1800s. So if you look at a drawing of, let's say, Manhattan prior to the 1890s, it's basically everything is 6 stories, right? And, the city was a mess. I mean, the sanitation was horrible. I mean, it's just, you look at these pictures and you think, oh, yeah, it was sort of nice back then. No, it wasn't. I mean, you couldn't get water above the second or third floor unless you carried it. There's no real sewer system. It was just horrible. But anyway, with steam, you're able to pump water in and out. You had electricity. I mean, there's just many productive things that happened, and the stock market allowed people to invest in that type of stuff because as productivity increased, people became more wealthy. They put their wealth back into this, this system of productivity. And what happened is, my opinion of why the stock market crashed, or why it always crashes, is you basically have a disconnect between your productivity and what you think the productivity is going to be in the future, right? So you have the steam engine, it's going well, you're saying, oh, I'm going to invest in this, I'm going to invest in this, but then people are like, oh, well, yeah, it's doing well, it can do even better, right? If we just come up with these ideas or whatever, these schemes, and we're going to float these securities that, because we don't think it's going to grow by 20%, we think it's going to grow by 50%, right? And, people will believe it, and they don't really connect what they're investing in with what's actually happening. And then you have a crash as those things as the sort of the monetary value of your investments has to now come back to the real value, right? So I think that's, been going on since the Industrial Revolution. And then Skype recently, I was, using Skype, and I got all these all these people coming in, calling me. Usually Skype blocks people not on my contact list. And what's going on? It's like really frustrating. But Skype and Microsoft have been so horrible for so long. It's just like whatever, Hopefully it'll go away. And then of course I learned that Microsoft isn't supporting Skype anymore. Now, why did Microsoft just pop up a thing saying Skype, we're ending Skype whenever? It didn't, right? But Microsoft has for a while been very bad at reading the customer. And also, in addition to having a disconnects between our financial securitization, sort of what I'm calling the monetary thing, and the actual productivity, we also have in the tech world a separation of what productivity is that people pay for and want, and the new thing that they think is going to be better. So Microsoft's like, we don't care about Skype, right? We don't care if we annoy everybody. Why we close it down? Like a lot of people don't even know. Like one day they open it, it doesn't work. We don't care because we have this AI stuff that they're going to want next. Now, is that correct? Right? We'll have to see. I don't think it is. So I think that a fundamental problem so you have two problems, right, with society. You have this monetary or financial securitization of non-productive aspirations. And then you have the technical world where you have like these Musk fanboys that believe Starship is going to go to Mars. Well, Starship can't even lift anything into orbit. So I can talk about that for a while. $4 billion, and it's taken one banana, 7 tries. Saturn took like huge things into orbit on all 6 launches. Anyway, so we're going to get now back to crypto. So crypto is it's not, as we all know, it doesn't represent any sort of productivity. It's just an agreed store. It's just a currency, just another currency based on the trust of what? I mean, maybe I've always argued that crypto, in a sense, is sort of the tech bros, the technologist currency, right? If you're really into technology and you don't consider yourself part of a country, that you're floating around the world as a technologist, then crypto's for you. Also, if you're a criminal, crypto is for you. So I definitely believe one of the theories that the CIA was sort of behind Bitcoin because they needed a way to pay some of the nefarious things that they were doing without using dollars, which could be tracked. That would not surprise me at all. Anyway, so we have crypto, and we have the fund industry. To me, I think this is what future. I think we're going to have another huge crash, like a crash on the level of 1929, that will usher in either a new Securities and Exchange Commission, or maybe called something different. I don't know. It's going to, like, the whole system is going to break down. And I know this sounds alarmist and this sounds, zombie apocalypse and whatever. But stuff has to change, because the first problem to me with mutual funds and ETFs was this whole derivative space of being able to bet whether the market goes up and down. Again, that's not based on productivity. That's based on your expectations of productivity, right? Some people believe it's going to go up, so I'm going to get a 2 times ETF, right? Well, some people believe it's going to go down. I'm going to bet it 2 times. But neither one have anything to do with whether that productivity will actually be realized. So you have, so the ETF industry, the fund industry, when the SEC allowed these products to get away from the actual underlying businesses, that was the beginning of the end to me. And what we're seeing now with crypto is what I think will actually be the final straw that breaks the camel's back, because there's nothing, and again, I'm not the first one to point this out. I'm just saying historically, getting back to, again, when I spent all that time in the research library, I mean, that's what it was about. That's what the people talked about in the late 1930s after the crash. They were like, hey, we had funds buying funds. The people investing, when they thought they were investing in a railroad or something, they weren't. They're investing in a fund that invested in a fund that invested in railroads and in a fund that invested. You know what I'm saying? So it's basically leveraging the idea of the railroad, not the actual railroad itself. And it's the same thing with crypto. You're not investing in any productivity behind it. You're just investing on the idea that technology and blockchain and what Starship and AI and all these things that are going to do really well, and crypto will be the currency of which what people use in that space. I don't see it. I just don't see it. And so, I don't want to go down a huge rabbit hole here. I'm already at 9 minutes. But essentially, you look at the president of the United States selling crypto while he's the president. I mean, you're definitely, maybe it'll all work out, but I mean, I just don't see it. And another comment I wanted to make earlier on is I've always had trouble with young people that they're not respectful. So the DEI thing, I mean, I'm all for any sort of equality, but I don't think it's right for somebody to say to somebody else, you have to call me this, right? I think a fundamental thing of our relationships, again, is we have to decide, each one of us, how we want to behave to each other and let the other person decide. It's not right to force them to say something. And this is the elements of fascism, right? And totalitarianism, where you're now forcing people to behave, to respect in a certain way. So I've never been in it for that sort of reason. But you look at, the current political landscape, and these politicians that are my age or older, way worse than the most annoying young DEI person I have met. Way worse, right? And, they're leading the country. I mean, you just cannot make this stuff up. So it's the whole cultural thing of respect for another person, a respect for productivity and the work that goes into it. It's completely gone, right? We now live in a complete virtual world, in a sense, a virtual world of crypto, of tech aspirations that this stuff just isn't there to support it. We don't have a rocket ship to Mars. None of those problems have been solved. And we don't have full self-driving, all these things, right? We don't have tunnels under the cities now and the cars moving fast, and also all this technology stuff. We don't have flying taxis. I mean, all this stuff, if you really look at it, like, where is it? It's not there. But we're so focused that it's going to happen anyway. Science is no longer a thing you do, like you have a hypothesis and you test it. Science is just somebody saying that tomorrow you're going to be rich because of some new X technology, solid state batteries or whatever, and you believing them, right? And going out and buying some crypto. So anyway, that's I guess that's this week's video, just my thoughts on crypto and how I think the mutual fund industry as I know it is a dead man walking. I don't know when it's going to happen. I'm the worst person to predict anything, but I just don't see how history doesn't repeat because, again, to sum it up, we're now so far removed from actual productivity that it has to come all crashing down because there's no such thing. You have to have food to eat. You have to have shelter. You have to have clean water. All these things. No amount of crypto is going to give you. Just like back then, no amount of stocks, leveraged stocks, was going to feed your family. Once the stock market crashed. So anyway, that's where I think we're at. Where I'm at minutes, 12, 13 minutes. If you come this far, hope you enjoyed it, and good luck. See you next week.